Imagine a fiery descent from orbit. A black sky suddenly turns red. A spaceplane tears through the atmosphere. The Soviet Union built a weapon, a fully reusable orbital strike fighter. It was the MiG-105 Spiral. It aimed to conquer the stars. The design was purely retrofuturistic, carried immense destructive potential. Spies feared its silent orbital patrols. A true marvel of Soviet engineering. Mankind stood on the brink. Space became the ultimate new battlefield. The world was deeply divided then. Two superpowers raced for absolute dominance. Space offered the ultimate high ground. America planned winged orbital military vehicles. The Soviets needed a powerful answer. Fear drove incredible new artistic designs. The MiG Bureau took the challenge. They sketched radical, aggressive aerodynamic lines. Blueprint paper smelled of raw ambition. The aesthetic was purely, brutally industrial. Sharp angles met very smooth curves. It looked like a predatory bird. Designers worked late into the night. Cigarette smoke filled tight drafting rooms. Every single line meant national survival. Politicians demanded absolute aerial space superiority. Ideology shaped this unique flying machine. It was not just a weapon. It was a massive symbol of power. The Spiral was born from paranoia, yet it possessed truly brutal beauty. Engineers poured their anxious souls out. They dreamed of epic cosmic dogfights. The stakes were always impossibly high. Human emotion fueled cold, hard steel. A silent war raged above us. This machine was the proud vanguard. Promised instant global strike reach. No ground target was safe anymore. The retro aesthetic remains iconic today. Captured a lost era perfectly. We see hope and terror combined. Designing it required immense human courage. The shadows of war loomed large. Art and science merged beautifully together. This was the peak of rivalry. Secret files hid the ultimate truth. The project felt incredibly alive then. Steel wings promised a fierce tomorrow. Reentry physics demanded a radical solution. The wings had to move mid-flight. Standard wings would melt or snap. Designers crafted outer wing sections carefully. They folded upward at 60 degrees. This created a highly stable wedge. It surfed on superheated atmospheric plasma. The aesthetic was beautifully bizarre. It looked like a paper airplane, but it survived extreme thermal shocks. Once subsonic, the wings flattened out. They became horizontal for normal gliding. Actuators fought against immense air pressure. The pilot felt every single shift. It required flawless engineering and timing. Failure meant instant, fiery structural death. The sketches show brilliant mechanical minds. They solved problems without modern computers. Slide rules calculated these vital angles. It gave the ship two lives. A spacecraft first, then an airplane. The transition was always incredibly violent. Yet the design held together perfectly. This innovation saved the pilot's life. Most spaceplanes are just heavy gliders. They get only one landing chance. The Spiral designers hated that limitation. They wanted a true combat fighter. So they installed a turbojet engine. The Kolesov RD-36-35K was a beast. It gave the pilot absolute freedom. They could abort a bad landing. The engine roared to life instantly. They could fly to another runway. Transformed a falling rock entirely. It became an agile, powered aircraft. The integration was a packaging nightmare. Space was tight inside the hull. Fuel lines ran near hot shielding. Engineers solved this with sheer willpower. The drawings highlight this compact power. It was a masterpiece of retro-engineering. The pilot had a vital safety net. A go-around was now fully possible. This engine changed the entire doctrine. The spaceplane was a real jet. It roared across the Soviet skies. Jet fuel mixed with pure adrenaline. The engine bay was perfectly sculpted. Form followed function in every detail. It was loud, proud, and reliable. Friction turns the air into fire. A returning spaceplane hits hellish temperatures. Standard aluminum would vaporize in seconds. The Soviet metallurgists faced an ordeal. They developed radical new refractory alloys. Niobium and molybdenum were heavily used. These metals resisted the searing heat. Working with them was incredibly hard. They formed a tough outer skin. The metallic finish looked gorgeously stark. It was an unpainted, raw silver shield. Heat tiles were also strategically placed. These materials were expensive and rare. Forging them required massive industrial power. The ship glowed red during reentry. The metal groaned but never failed. It protected the fragile human inside. The aesthetic was born from necessity. It was a triumph of chemistry. The skin looked like alien technology. It was rough, heavy, and invincible. In 1965, the United States announced new plans. Their military space programs seemed unstoppable. The Soviet Defense Ministry needed a swift, decisive countermeasure. The mandate was clear and urgent. Build an orbital fighter plane immediately. The Spiral project officially began then. The atmosphere was incredibly tense everywhere. Spies whispered about space-based nuclear weapons. Soviet leadership demanded absolute space dominance. Endless funding was poured into research. The brightest minds were quickly assembled. They worked in highly classified bureaus. Secrecy shrouded every single early design. Ideological pride was on the line. The Cold War was freezing hard. The space race took a dark turn. This was not about peaceful exploration. It was about orbital military superiority. Early sketches were wild and ambitious. The ambition felt almost entirely reckless. They imagined a two-stage spaceplane. It would launch from a hypersonic jet. The sheer scale was completely mind-boggling. Engineers worked under immense political pressure. A failure could mean severe punishment. Paranoia seeped into every single blueprint. The cultural vibe was grim determination. It was a time of massive dreams. The project represented ultimate national pride. 11 years of painful development passed. October 1976 finally brought real action. The EPOS prototype was finally ready. It was designated the MIG-105.11 analog. The machine was small and sturdy. A Tupolev Tu-95 bomber carried it. It hung heavily under the belly. The bomber climbed to high altitude. The tension in the cockpit grew. The test pilot waited in silence. The drop command was sharply given. The heavy shackles violently snapped open. The spaceplane fell into the sky. It plummeted before catching the air. The aerodynamics actually worked as planned. The pilot gained full manual control. It glided over the vast steppes. The handling was surprisingly very good. Observers on the ground watched nervously. The landing gear deployed with force. The skids hit the dirt runway. A cloud of dust exploded upwards. The flight was a massive success. The engineers wept with pure joy. Years of stress briefly melted away. The drawings had become real life. The vehicle survived its first test. The late 1970s brought political shifts. Soviet leadership changed their strategic minds. The Spiral project lost its favor. A new obsession took hold entirely. America was building the space shuttle. The Soviets wanted a direct copy. The massive Buran program was born. It required vertical launch heavy rockets. Spiral was suddenly deemed too small. Funding was rapidly and brutally slashed. The air launch concept was cast aside. Brilliant engineers felt deeply, truly betrayed. Their beautiful spaceplane was now obsolete. The shift was devastating for morale. Bureaucracy crushed a truly elegant design. The dramatic cancellation hurt many careers. Work stopped in the drafting rooms. Dust settled on the brilliant blueprints. The prototype was sent to museums. It was a tragic end indeed. The Cold War machine demanded giants. Small, agile space fighters were dead. The emotional toll was very heavy. Years of passion were just discarded. Gleb Lozino-Lozinskiy was the ultimate mastermind designer. Gleb possessed a truly visionary mind. He led the entire MiG bureau. His ideas defied all standard conventions. He embraced the wildly unknown aerodynamics. Colleagues respected his fierce, stubborn drive. He fought constantly with Soviet bureaucrats. His passion for space was absolute. He birthed the entire Spiral concept. Even after cancellation, he never quit. He later designed the Buran shuttle. His legacy shaped Soviet space history. Avgust Fedotov was a fearless test pilot. He held the hero title proudly. He possessed nerves of pure steel. Flying and proven machines was his life. He strapped into the experimental EPOS. He trusted the engineers with everything. His hands guided the first drop. He felt the terrifying initial plunge. He proved the bizarre shape flew. His feedback was incredibly highly detailed. He risked his life for science. The Cold War demanded brave men. Fedotov delivered without any hesitation at all. He mastered the dangerous skid landings. His courage made the blueprints real. The Spiral project never truly vanished. His DNA survived through uncrewed BOR vehicles. They looked like tiny spiral clones. They were launched directly into orbit. Their mission was testing reentry physics. The folding wing concept was fully validated. They splashed down in oceans. Lozino-Lozinskiy never forgot his air launch vision. After the Soviet collapse, he tried again. He proposed the ambitious MAKS concept. A massive spaceplane atop an An-225. Promised cheap, reliable orbital access. The design carried Spiral's true soul. The Cold War drama faded out. MAKS aimed for global space cooperation. Lack of funding left it on paper.